Want to do a 15-minute Friday?
Let's go.
Let's make it happen. What's up, everybody? Hello. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the What You Don't Hear podcast. This is a 15-minute Friday where myself and a returning guest sit down one more time, but this time we're talking about a specific topic or subject with the goal and the hope of sending you into your weekend, your upcoming week with some positive, actionable, or thought-provoking advice and opinion. And I got him to come back. He's here across the table once more. Mark Pasternack, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for being down to
Great
continue
to be back.
being on the show. As long as I release these in the order that we recorded them, otherwise this will be the first one, and the people are like, he's never been back on the show, and then they find out.
Surprised you had him back.
They find out all the secrets, and
Yeah.
they're like, what do they mean? What's he mean? He said he's been back on the show a couple times, but I've only seen him once,
So maybe there's more.
Maybe there's more.
Maybe there's more.
Well, at this point in time, I'm just going to say, at the point in time this will be releasing, there's probably some other ones. But then if there's not, now you know the secrets. But none of that is what we're talking about.
Because the time is starting.
I know the time's starting. You get so frantic about the clock. It's running up. I know. It's nerve-wracking. 15 minutes on the clock. I should get a big ticker. I still like your idea of throwing up a huge clock that just counts down, or a big hourglass.
It might cause more stress for people.
It's probably
not.
It probably could. So the topic of this 15-minute Friday that Mark and I are going to dive into is a bit of a broad topic. It's probably more of an umbrella topic that can just house so many different things, but it's a conversation that I think both of us and a lot of people would forever think is very important. No matter how many different voices speak on it, no matter how many different points of view you can hear on it, I think it is valuable to hear in all of those different ways. And this is, just the balancing of mental health as a creative or as an entrepreneur. And clearly, it goes without saying, yes, the balance of mental health for anybody, creative or not, entrepreneur or not, it's a big battle. Absolutely. It's a must, right? Everybody deserves a positive mental health stance or understanding or what, but so much of where our perspective is going to come from is that balancing act of the creative world, of the business world, because navigating that can be really, really, really difficult. Because it's not all fun and games. It's not just you get to sell things, or, you just get to create stuff all the time. Or, I know a chat that I often have with people is, yes, I, as a self-employed person, I get to make my own schedule every day. Mm-hmm. I get to decide what time I want to go to bed, what time I want to get up, what I want to do with my day. Do I want it to be filled with meetings? Do I want it to be filled with a whole production all day, or designing stuff at home? Or do I just want to sit and just watch YouTube all day or something, right? Mm-hmm. I get to decide that.
Yep.
But in a way, what often decides those things, this might be strange to say, but in a way, it almost isn't me. Sometimes it is my mental state of being, is the deciding factor in what I fill that day with. Now, thankfully, I do have the space to be able to just, if I want to take an entire day to myself and do nothing, great. That's fine. If the most I do in a day is send my friend Mark Pasternack a text and that's it, okay, that's what I did with my day. But I can also fill it top to bottom. And I think it's very easy to get caught in the system of trying to fill your day top to bottom with all the creative activities, with all the business meetings and all the doings, all this sort of stuff, because you kind of get trapped. The way that I've explained it before is when you enter the creative field or trying to be an entrepreneur, you effectively are saying I don't want the 9-to-5 job, right? I don't want that. I don't want that structure. I don't want to be in that machine. But you effectively can very easily create your own machine that you then get stuck in. So before I continue to ramble for this entire 15 minutes, I know there's probably a lot that I have said that you want to jump in on. So Mark, when it comes to the mental health of being an entrepreneur, being a creative, what do you got?
Yeah, I think it comes down to two things. As a creative, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, right? It's your purpose and then your environment, right? What's your purpose in being in business for yourself or in being a creative, right? What did you set out to create and why? And then who are you surrounding yourself with? Because I'll never forget the first real business I started, right? It was like, oh, great, I want to have a business. I want to have employees and offices and, have some big name clients. And that was about all I had with my purpose. And then I got to that place and that was kind of it, right? I didn't have a greater purpose than that. Like I had my family on the other side as well, right? But then, I was just kind of chasing this like, oh, okay, let's grow this business and have all these clients. But I kind of outgrew the environment for me to continue to pursue my passion. And so I remember when I was shutting down that business, I drove down to Nashville to shut down that office and slept in my van the night before because I didn't have a penny to my name. And then driving back home, obviously I had a lot of time to think about this because I was in one of the lowest places of my life and just thinking like, who can I call? Who can I talk to? And it was then that hit me that like, oh, I wasn't cultivating a healthy environment for my own mental health. And there were only two people I could call. And it was like two of my best friends, Eric and Caleb, and now we run a business together. And that whole experience started that, right? But it just taught me a really hard and good lesson of like, you have to have a deeper purpose for your creativity, for your business, for your entrepreneurship. And you have to have an environment that's supporting you in that and supporting your entire life, not just your business, right? But like I kind of grew an environment that outgrew my personal life of growing a family. And so my mental health started to really go down the drain and it affected every single area of my life. So I think when I think of mental health, I take it back to that, what is your purpose? Like if you're thinking about mental health right now as a listener, like what's your purpose as a creative? What's your purpose? Or if you're an employee as an employee, and then how is your environment really supporting you and encouraging you in that? And when you do have down days or when you wake up and you don't feel like you're in control, because that happens and that's real and that's valid, how is your environment, your community lifting you up and supporting you in that so you don't just begin to spiral down?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so much of that, like for me, like on my journey, I feel like I went through two big phases of kind of self-discovery when it came to this entrepreneur chase, right? At first, I wasn't clear on my purpose or intention. Mm-hmm. It was more so, I just wanted to create, which is fine.
It's great.
But I just wanted to create. I wanted to figure out how to make money from that. How can I be a freelancer? Mm-hmm. I don't want a 9-to-5 job, blah, blah, blah. So I effectively, like I was talking about with like you can get stuck in your own system or your own machine. I effectively got stuck in the starving artist mentality where it was like, no, I'm just supposed to be broke and I'm just supposed to be, stressed all the time because that's what it takes.
It means to be an artist.
That's what it takes for the art. And it's like, I understand that, but also that is not how it has to be.
It's not healthy.
No. And so like when you sit and I'm like, oh, I'm stressed all the time. It was also because 99% of my time or energy or thought process or anything was all about, oh my God, I have to be creative. Oh my God, I have to grow as a freelancer, blah, blah, blah. Like, and I just didn't know a lot. It was just like, I'm a starving artist. Mm-hmm. So the first phase ended when I identified and kind of gained that clarity of like, okay, what does it more so mean to be a human being that is pursuing these things, right? And what's funny is, you and I were talking a little bit about this before we started recording. What's funny is I feel like I had just got through the second growth phase that was major for me when it came to this. So the first one was just being consumed with creating and trying to be a freelancer and grinding my gears until the wheels fell off, right? Then I got all that under control. But what I forgot was still just to have a life. Because I figured out how to make my life work and be sustainable as a freelance creative. But then what caught up to me was, well, what about you and your life in general? And the way that I've been describing kind of how it's mentally felt for me is, a handful of years ago in that first phase, fixing that first phase, right? I identified like that I wasn't even making good moves for career choices, right? I was just doing stuff, saying yes to everything, getting caught up like everybody can, right? Being a starving artist, just, oh my gosh, I have to make stuff. So I identified that I needed to work on and build a better machine for career, right? It was just broken. There wasn't really a machine. There wasn't a system. There wasn't a structure. So breaking it down, I did the work on the career machine. I built it. I got it up and running. We talked in another episode about the needs and the wants of financial sustainability and all this sort of stuff. I did a lot of that work. I figured out, okay, as a career, as a job, I've got this machine up and running. It's going to take maintenance. It's not always going to work perfectly. There's still going to be work that needs to be done, but it's up and running and it's on track. And then I had kind of another wall that I hit where it was more about myself as an individual. I learned and found out that I was extremely drained for having only worked, even if I was working a little bit smarter. I still found myself incredibly drained and unhappy mentally because so much of my life and so much of who I was consumed with work and creating. So then I identified, okay, it's time to build a better me machine. So that's things like taking my health into consideration more, getting a gym routine, just picking up some hobbies, picking up some things that I just enjoy doing that aren't all turned into jobs and careers. So then I did work on that me machine, focusing more on like, how can I take control of maybe issues or problems that I run into? How do I react to these things? How can I start to get my mental health on a little bit better of a track and just get me under more control, separated from career? So then I built that machine. I got it up and running and I got it on track. And at that point in time, I was feeling great, right? I'm like, yes, I'm going to the gym all the time. I've got all this sort of stuff. I got my needs and my wants with my financials figured out. Career machine's up and running. Me machine's up and running. All right. Then came the crashing reality that the social machine, the relationship machine, was completely and utterly destroyed. Because as we all go through these mental health journeys, it's easy to focus on the task at hand. Therefore, you kind of forget what are the secondary tasks that also need to be being worked on while you're working on this one. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Sometimes this does take all the work and effort, and you do have to get that one up and running before you can focus on the others. But for me, what that looked like was working on career, working on myself, but then not working on my life itself. I realized that doing all these things, I was making progress and finding positives out of the negatives. But I wasn't just doing simple things like hanging out with friends or building romantic relationships or focused on just experiencing life itself in general. I wasn't really, going to the movies or going out to eat or just chilling and playing video games with friends. So that for me, we're talking about this at a very interesting point in time for me, because I feel like that is where my current evolution is happening, is I'm working on building that life machine and getting it up and running. So then I can sit and say, okay, we're all starting to be on track. And I'm sure there's going to be something else that pops up that's like, hey, you got to work on this one too. But when it comes to the mental health game as a creative, as an entrepreneur, I 100% have went through all these different phases. But the thing is, I'm sure it's never going to end. There's always going to be work that needs to be done. It's just how much stability can you have in each of those things? So what has it been like? What's the work been like for you? I just kind of shared my whole super detailed story of all right, how I kind of identified and built. But if you were sharing something with somebody of what you feel like worked for you, what was it?
Man, I don't know how many of you know or have heard of Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, because I didn't know them at first, right? But just Google it, Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. I was a communication major after my 5th or 6th change in college, and I just remember sitting in a psych class and the teacher talking about this, and it just it didn't make sense then, but after I went through a similar journey of you and ups and downs and focusing on my health and then my food and then my business and then myself, I think it got brought back up. But the hierarchy of needs it's a pyramid. So right, think about on the bottom level, you have your base like your basic needs, right? And until those are met, you can't even begin to continue to go forward, right? Until you feel like your basic. Think about like water. Think about breathing. Think about air. Think about feeling physically safe in your environment. So as basic things as that, until those are covered, you are going to be anxious. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be burnt out. You're going to be tired. I remember when we had 2 kids under 2, and my wife had postpartum depression and all of these issues, and it was like, encouraged her to go see a therapist. And the first thing the therapist said was like, how much are you sleeping? She's like, not much. And she was like, did you know that that a lack of sleep is torture, right? Is like in the military, they use it as a torture tactic. So understanding that sleep is a basic need, right? So if you're going to start anywhere out of that long story, I would say start with your sleep. Okay? Like understand, are you getting good sleep or are you not getting good sleep? And for everybody, that's different, right? I used to think, I only need 6 hours. No, I need like 9 hours. And I'm okay with that because that's what I need for my basic needs. Mm-hmm. So I think anybody listening out there, if you want a place to start, Google Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, right? But look at your sleep first. How much are you sleeping? Because that's when your body's recovering. That's when your body is bringing you back to life, more or less, right? And so your mental health, I think, at least for me, starts with sleep. And then you can go to your food. And then you can go to your friendships. And then you can go to safety and security and all of those other things. But you can't get to the level of dreaming, right? You can't get to thriving in life until your basic needs are met.
Would you say identifying those things was like a thing that helped you?
Game changer.
Like biggest game changer? Okay. So we've hit our 15 minutes. I know we could talk forever about this and share all the stories and do all the things. But let's wrap it up because we got to. I make the rules around here, but I can't really break them that much. It's a 15-minute Friday.
People are pissed.
They're pissed. I know. Pissed. They were like, they fired this one up and they were like, I'm on a drive. I've got 15 minutes.
They even set a timer.
They set a timer on their end too. Yes. And they were like, I am now where I was going. My drive is over. I've parked. Wrap the episode up. So is there anything, because again, mental health goes 100 million different ways. Is there anything big that you'd want to leave somebody with in this episode? Like, hey, I know we gave a bunch of points. We gave a bunch of examples of what we live, what we've lived through and things that we've done. But is there one thing you'd want to leave somebody with?
Yeah, don't let other people's opinion about your mental health sway you one way or the other. If you're feeling off, if you're feeling not like yourself, go get help. Go see a therapist. Go talk to a friend that will encourage you. Don't continue to talk to people who aren't valuing your mental health because then your mental health is only going to go downhill even more.
Boom. I love it. That's another 15-Minute Friday in the books. We did it.